I'm Lindsay Smith with RealAgriculture, and I'm joined right now by Adrienne Ivey, a rancher out of Saskatchewan. Adrienne, whereabouts are you from in Saskatchewan?
I am from Ituna, Saskatchewan, which many people have no idea where it is because it's smack dab in the middle of nowhere. But the reality is it's a small community in east central Saskatchewan.
Right. So my colleague Deborah Murphy is also from the middle of nowhere, but she prefers to call it the middle of everywhere. Really? So, you could go with that. Now, tell me a bit about your ranch. You've got, I believe you have cow-calf, and you also finish steers as well?
Yeah, so we calve out about, depending on the year, it changes every year, but about 1,100 cow-calf pairs. Keep our own calves and background them within our own feedlot. Our feedlot's about a 2,500 head capacity feedlot. Run those calves back out on grass the next year. And then almost always, I've learned to say almost always, never always, we retain ownership right through till they are finished. But for the past few years, we've not been finishing them ourselves.
Okay,
we work with a larger feedlot so that just gain a few more efficiencies there, but continue owning them right through till slaughter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very cool. And I know we have had the joy of speaking before about sort of where all your cows end up. So it's pretty neat being out of Saskatchewan. Maybe people don't know where you're from, but those cows head off to all sorts of different markets, which is pretty cool. Now, the reason though that we're talking today is you have actually been in Ottawa for the better part of a week, and here to attend, well, among other things, but to attend the Canadian Federation of Agriculture's annual general meeting. And the reason I want to talk today is that now, is this your very first time being in Ottawa or your first time here for any sort of ag politics?
It is my first time ever stepping foot within Ottawa. And it's been pretty fantastic.
Yes.
What a cool city.
Okay, which is good. I love to hear that. I think it's a pretty neat city.
Yeah.
But give me some of your perspective maybe on it being your first visit in total, but your first visit, you're here specifically on the farm policy side. So share with us some perspective of what it's been like.
It's been really, really cool. I think I've always thought that within Saskatchewan, we're really fortunate to have a very accessible government. And we're a small population province, so I feel like we can really get the time of the politicians who are working for us. But we've always, being from the West, the distance is very vast. So I've never felt that same kind of closeness with our federal government. So it's been really cool to be out here and to be able to get the time of some of our Saskatchewan MPs who, for the most part, are absolutely thrilled to see people from home out here and taking an interest. And, they want to see that engagement as much as anybody. So that part of it has been a brand new experience for me and something that I've really, really enjoyed.
And it's sort of interesting to me, and I love seeing it, that so often when people from all over Canada come to Ottawa for whatever reason, and they contact their local MP or MPs from near where they're from, they are always so welcoming to say, set up a time, come and meet, let's talk about, whatever you want to talk about. But so far, it always seems like they're absolutely so welcoming to have their constituents here in Ottawa, which is really, really neat.
That's right. It honestly feels like it's as much of a treat for them as it is for us.
For sure.
So that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I certainly appreciate sort of that accessibility. Now, you were here for the Canadian Federation of Agriculture's annual general meeting. It was a full 2 days, a packed 2 days. There were 45 resolutions on the agenda. You spoke to a few of those resolutions. Maybe summarize for me what sort of most of them were about, or some of them were about.
So I think, part of it, that was an eye-opener for me. My first time being here at CFA's AGM was just agriculture, obviously, across Canada is very diverse. So the resolutions are also very diverse. And things like I was speaking to one motion about our foreign worker policies and the need to make sure that they're very accessible within agriculture. And the motion needed to be amended to include sugar maple production, which, being from the West, I would have no idea that is not considered under the agriculture envelope. So it's been very interesting the way that when you bring forward a motion that affects you, how it can really affect other parts of agriculture as well in ways that you had no idea.
Right. Yeah. It is sort of interesting that the root issue is the same, but yeah, to think that, a maple syrup producer would be struggling with the same legislation is sort of, or regulations is sort of, it's very mind opening. That's for sure. Because you wouldn't even expect such a thing, right? Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. It really helps us see outside of our own little bubble that we all gravitate towards and tend to be in a little bit. So,
and I guess that's my next question. So now we are similar in age, so I'm going to call us very young. And so how important is it as a young rancher to be, do you think, involved in farm policy at this level?
So I think it's incredibly important. I think that because we naturally gravitate towards being within our own bubble, unless you are willing to put yourself in the room, to fly across the country, to be involved in something, unless you're willing to do some of those things, then how can we expect others to get outside of their bubble, or how do we grow outside of our own bubble as well? So I think that's very important, just from a learning from each other kind of perspective. But then there's also the idea that the issues that are affecting me, that I believe are very important, aren't affecting this producers from across Canada and of different commodities, but different ages, different demographics. It's different for all of us. So I've spoken frequently about the need to tell your own farm story to consumers. We also need to tell our own farm story to politicians, and to be our own champions and have a voice.
What prompted you to get involved? Now, are you involved with APAS, which many of our listeners may not even know what the acronym is, but are you what sort of prompted getting involved with the farm policy side in Saskatchewan?
So APAS, which is the Agriculture Producers Association of Saskatchewan, they have a really interesting mentorship program that they asked me to be a part of this year. And I'm so glad that I did, because I am learning so much about ag policy from a very different angle than what I had been involved with before. Typically the beef industry, both provincially and federally, they have a pretty well-oiled lobby machine already in place. And kind of that's what I was familiar with. But I wanted to see how agriculture policy was built and influenced from a different perspective, from a broader perspective of these are the things that are important to all producers, not just sector specific. So it was really cool. I give full credit to APAS. I think it's fantastic that they looked around their but their boardroom, their activity level, and they were seeing not a lot of movement, not a lot of change, not a lot of renewal. And so they took steps to do something to change that. And this mentorship was born from that. So it's a really, really interesting way to get younger people from all different types of demographics involved within the policy system. And whether or not I become a past director in the future, that's not a prerequisite of the program. It's more about getting people involved, helping them build their future as leaders within agriculture, and really seeing things from a different perspective.
And so would you recommend it then to someone else who maybe has the same opportunity to get involved?
Yeah, definitely. I think anytime that you can look around and say, well, I don't really know a lot about that angle, it never ever is a bad thing, or it's always worth your time to go and learn things from a different angle. Always, every time.
So now you're wrapping up your trip here. You're heading home shortly. What has been maybe one of the highlights of this trip for you, sort of outside the political spectrum?
I think that any time that you get a room filled with producers from not only across Canada, but from across commodity groups and different sectors, it's amazing how much we learn from each other. So I think there's often this idea of an east-west divide, but that was really not, I didn't feel that at all in that room. It was pretty amazing how much everybody wanted to work together. The other divide that sometimes I feel is the open market supply management divide. And I've got to say, the room was amazing as far as we can have some different goals, but let's not throw each other under the bus. Let's work together. Let's make sure trade deals happen while still protecting other sectors' interests. And how can we work forward together? So I think that was probably my highlight, just seeing how well producers can function together and see the importance of each other's initiatives.
Wonderful. Okay. Adrienne, thank you so much for your time today, and safe travels home.
Thank you so much for chatting. And that was my greatest disappointment, was that I'm in Ottawa and I never actually got to see you.
We will remedy that next time. Actually, I would say next time I'm in Saskatchewan, I should come out to the ranch and tour.
Yes.
That's a much better idea.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Wait till spring and then we'll make that happen.
Yes. Okay. Sounds great.